We are really excited that you're joining us today to learn more about our Why Vote campaign. Given that social workers sit at the intersection of the individual and society, we're really well positioned to help promote civic engagement and help preserve our nation's democracy. And one of the best ways that we can engage in civics and promote a healthy democracy is by registering people to vote. So the Why Vote campaign was designed with these things in mind. We wanted to create a tool for social workers to make it easier to empower their communities by helping them get registered to vote. And so today we'll discuss the ideas behind the Why Vote campaign, the different aspects of the campaign, and the ways that you can use the campaign toolkit in your current position as a student, as an educator, or as a working professional. But before we jump in, I wanted to say thank you to Voting as Social Work. This tool was compiled using some of the already existing resources available through Voting as Social Work. And so I wanted to say thank you to them for allowing us to build off of and add to their work. And so with that, let's get into the Why Vote campaign. So research says that social workers are more civically engaged than the average person, but many social workers admit that they don't see political participation as a part of their duties as a social worker. They may participate in advocacy on an individual level when working with individual clients, but that seems to be where their advocacy and policy practice end. And voting is such an important part of civic engagement for social workers. Not only is it an essential function of our democracy, but it's also a tool of empowerment that can be influential in the lives of our clients and our communities. Voter registration is a simple way for social workers to incorporate civic engagement into their daily lives. And this campaign is intended to jumpstart social workers' involvement in this work during their educational careers so that after they graduate, they feel more prepared, more inspired, and more qualified to continue the work and the effort in their professional life. The campaign's meant to be an 8-week advocacy project for social work students around why voting matters. And this 8-week campaign guides students toward the final aspect of the campaign, which is hosting their own voter registration drive. So throughout the development of this campaign, we kept a few things in mind. The first is we wanted the campaign goal to be preparing and inspiring social work students to advocate for the importance of voting, while also empowering social work students to become more civically engaged. We used 3 main objectives to accomplish our goal. The first is we wanted to provide resources to social work students to kickstart their commitment to political social work and civic engagement through their participation in the campaign and the voter registration drive. The second was that we wanted the campaign to educate social work students on the importance of voting to their clients and their communities. And then lastly, we wanted the campaign to educate social work students on the importance of voting to the social work profession. And so, as we've said, the first objective of the campaign was to give social work students education around the importance of voting to the profession. And to do this, we incorporated the following concepts into the materials within the campaign. The first is that voting is essential to the social work profession because we're electing leaders that have direct impacts on our local and national policies, which, as we know, have direct impacts on our clients and our communities. The second is that through social workers' involvement in the voting process, we're able to help create a more inclusive and representative government, which will have many positive impacts on our communities. Third, through voting, social workers are able to hold our leaders accountable to upholding our social work values. We need to be able to use our vote to ensure that our local and national leaders are upholding our values. And then lastly, voting is important to the social work profession because we're electing local leaders who have direct impacts on our communities through the decisions that they make around infrastructure, education, community resources, city budget, community values, and community culture. The second objective of the campaign was to educate students on the importance of voting to their clients and their communities. And to do this, we again incorporated certain ideas into the campaign materials. So we emphasize the importance of voting to our clients and communities as it gives the individual equal voice, self-determination, and power, which improves their individual well-being. It also gives people the opportunity to have meaningful participation in the decision-making process in their community. As we know, our vote is our voice. And so when we give everyone the right to vote, we're giving them equal voice within their community. And when we encourage our clients and communities to vote, we know that this action will actually advance other types of civic engagement within the community, which only serves to better our communities and helps us to get a better sense of social justice. And the last objective of the campaign is to provide students with the resources that they'll need to ready themselves as they kickstart their commitment to political social work and civic engagement. Which brings us to the meat and potatoes of today's presentation, which is our Why Vote campaign toolkit. The campaign is designed as a downloadable toolkit, and it is a downloadable zip file with everything we need to participate in a campaign. You can find it at votingassocialwork.org, and we'll drop that link in the chat for easy access. The toolkit is made up of two main components, the campaign guide and the campaign materials. So we'll start by looking at the campaign guide. The campaign guide was designed to help students better participate in the campaign. It's a step-by-step guide on how to participate and then compile the toolkit materials into modules for each week's activities. So here you can see a sample of the first few pages of the campaign guide. And then it moves into the weekly modules, which first give a brief description of the suggested activities to complete during that week, and then give students a pro tip for the week. These pro tips were created to be best practices of the campaign, and so there's one pro tip for each week. You can also see that each week in the guide has references of what materials are needed to complete that week's activities. And all the materials in the campaign are organized in the zip file by week that you've downloaded so that they're easily found and utilized. The campaign materials include flyers, brochures, posters, worksheets, checklists, and additional resources. Here you can see one of the flyers that's included, the voter registration drive checklist, and the evaluation form that students can do after they've completed the campaign. A lot of the campaign's materials are provided to students to use on social media to hopefully engage a larger audience. And so we've compiled a social media toolkit with infographics, Instagram posts, Facebook posts, banners, and more to help spread the word about the campaign and the upcoming voter registration drive. Each week of the campaign has an activity that focuses on social media engagement. And so we're asking the students to post a few of the campaign's social media posts throughout the week on their group social media site or on their personal social media site. And we've compiled the social media toolkit materials into what we're calling campaign series. So these short social media series will focus on the campaign itself, the history of voting in America, the importance of voting municipally, social work and voting rights, and then a series with quick facts called the Did You Know series. We've put together some samples of these series to give you an idea about what we mean. So first is the intro to the campaign series. And these are intended to be used on Instagram, but can be modified to be used on other social media forums. And they're intended to be posted to the students' pages to educate their audiences on the importance of voting to the social work profession, to our clients, and to our communities. The Vote Municipal series focuses on the importance of voting locally. We wanted students to know the major impacts that voting locally has on our communities, from having access to clean water, access to broadband, affordable housing, transportation, quality education system, and more. The campaign offers students a variety of activities to do to enhance their participation in the campaign. And so we've organized these activities into a campaign calendar. So each week of the campaign has a coinciding calendar that's included in the guide and materials folder for that week. The campaign calendar is filled with scheduled events and activities that are designed to help students get moving toward the voter registration drive, which is intended to be scheduled for the last week of the campaign. As you can see, alongside the campaign guide, The campaign calendar puts everything together to make it easier for students to participate in the campaign and voter registration drive. We are really hoping that social workers across all arenas are able to use this campaign in one way or another. And so we've compiled a few ways that you can utilize the campaign toolkit. Although it was designed with social work students in mind, there are ways for educators and for working professionals to use it as well. But before we look at how educators and working professionals can use it, I wanted to focus on how students can use or modify the campaign. So let's say you don't have a full 8 weeks to complete the campaign. Feel free to condense the campaign to fit your needs. Simply only do what's necessary to complete the voter registration drive on campus. So for example, you'd fill out the volunteer sign-up sheet and get permission from the university to host the voter registration drive. And then you would set the date for the drive, educate yourselves on the voter registration laws in your state. You'd complete the voter registration drive checklist and then just plan for the date of the voter registration drive. If you already have an existing social work group on campus, this would be a really great exercise for you all to do together before the next election. But be sure to keep in mind the timing of your voter registration drive. For example, here in Texas, the new voters, their registration forms have to be turned in at least 30 days before the election in order to be eligible to vote. So be thinking about the timing as you start your planning. Maybe you don't have an already existing or established social work group on campus. Consider grouping together with other student organizations that may support this effort. There are many ways for you to use this tool to make a huge impact on your campus. And for educators, this campaign can be used as a class assignment or as a part of your field education course. You're also welcome to use any of the graphics within the campaign in your lectures or assignments. Perhaps you don't have the capacity to add this as a part of your curriculum. Consider sponsoring a group on campus that's willing to participate. Either way, we hope that this campaign and this tool help you to encourage civic participation amongst your students. And lastly, for the working professionals in the group today, consider using the campaign in your workplace or in your community. Consider partnering with your colleagues to complete the campus and host your own voter registration drive wherever you may be. Again, feel free to condense or modify the campaign to fit your needs. The main goal of the campaign is getting new voters registered, so feel free to use this resource however you see fit to reach that goal. As we've already stated, we as social workers are really well positioned to promote civic engagement and preserve our nation's democracy. We hope that this new free resource empowers you to either jumpstart your efforts around civic engagement or empowers you to take the next step in your efforts around civic engagement. We hope that you join in the efforts of increasing social workers' involvement in civics and politics by participating in our Why Vote campaign.